$2. That is what a large local beer costs at a bar in Krakow, Poland, one of the most beautiful medieval city centers in all of Europe. A place with a royal castle, a Jewish quarter, underground salt mines, and a food scene that punches well above its weight. $2 for a beer in a city that most Western Europeans fly to specifically because everything is cheap. And Krakow is just the starting point. Eastern Europe tends to get treated as a single category. Cheaper than the West, vaguely interesting. Probably fine. But framing undersells it badly. What Eastern Europe actually contains is a string of genuinely world-class cities, each with distinct architecture, food traditions, and cultural identities, all sitting at prices that make the western half of the continent feel like a luxury destination. The question today is whether $40 a day is enough to travel these cities properly. Not just survive them, but actually experience them, city by city, with real numbers. Krakow, Poland, is the obvious entry point and earns its popularity completely. The Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the rare medieval city centers in Central Europe to have survived the Second World War largely intact. Hostel private rooms in the Old Town and the adjacent Kazimierz district, the historic Jewish quarter, now one of the best neighborhoods for food and nightlife, run $15 to $22 per night. A bowl of zurek, the sour rice soup served in a bread bowl that is effectively the city's signature dish, costs $2 to $3 at a milk bar. Milk bars, the communist-era self-service canteens that survived into the present as cheap, filling, local lunch spots, are one of Eastern Europe's great budget travel gifts. A full meal at a milk bar in Krakow runs $3 to $5. Day trips to the Wieliczka salt mine, which contains underground chapels and lakes carved entirely from salt, cost around $20 including transport and entrance. A comfortable day in Krakow runs $25 to $35, well inside the ceiling. Budapest, Hungary, is one of the most architecturally dramatic cities in Europe. A city split by the Danube between the hilly castle district of Buda and the flat Grand Boulevard grid of Pest, stitched together by a series of ornate 19th century bridges. It is also one of the best value capital cities on the continent. Private hostel rooms in the 7th district, the ruin bar neighborhood that has become the city's social center, run $15 to $25 per night. A langos, the deep-fried flatbread topped with sour cream and cheese that is the essential Budapest street food, costs $2 to $3. A full sit-down meal at a traditional Hungarian restaurant, goulash, chicken paprikash, stuffed peppers, runs $5 to $9. The famous thermal baths, including the Grand Szechenyi Bath Complex in City Park, cost around $20 for a full-day entry. Budapest typically runs $30 to $45 per day, with the higher end driven by bath visits and nightlife. Prague, Czech Republic, sits slightly higher than the others on this list, partly because its popularity over the past 20 years has pushed accommodation and tourist area restaurant prices up considerably. The Old Town Square and Charles Bridge area now have prices that approach Western European levels in the immediate tourist zone. The key to budgeting Prague is location, staying in Žižkov, Vinohrady, or Holešovice, rather than the Old Town cuts accommodation costs significantly and gives a more authentic experience of the city. Private rooms in these neighborhoods run $18 to $28. Eating at Czech pubs rather than Old Town restaurants. Svikova, the braised beef with cream sauce and bread dumplings that is the national dish, costs $5 to $8 at a local pub versus $15 to $20 at a tourist restaurant. A half-liter of Czech beer, widely regarded as some of the best in the world, costs $1.50 to $2.50 at a local pub. Prague runs $35 to $50 per day, depending heavily on neighborhood and eating choices. Warsaw, Poland, is the most underrated city on this list, and arguably in all of Europe. It was almost entirely destroyed in the Second World War and rebuilt from scratch, which gives it a complicated and fascinating, layered identity. A painstakingly reconstructed old town sitting alongside Soviet-era brutalist architecture and a rapidly developing modern skyline. It is also cheaper than Krakow, with private hostel rooms running $12 to $20 and milk bar meals at $2 to $4. The Poland Museum of the History of Polish Jews is one of the best museums in Europe and costs around $10 for entry. Warsaw typically runs $25 to $35 per day. Bratislava, Slovakia is small. The entire old town can be walked end to end in 20 minutes. But it is charming, almost completely untouristy by Central European standards, and extremely cheap. Private rooms run $10 to $18. Meals at local Slovak restaurants, Brinzov Haluski, which are potato dumplings with sheep cheese and bacon, is the dish to know, run $3 to $6. A day trip to the small Carpathians wine region costs almost nothing by local bus. Bratislava typically runs $20 to $28 per day, which means it gives budget headroom that carries into busier days elsewhere. Ljubljana, Slovenia, caps the list. Slovenia is a small, beautiful, and considerably wealthier country than its neighbors, and Ljubljana reflects that it is more expensive than Bratislava or Warsaw, but still very achievable. Private rooms run $20 to $30. Meals at local restaurants run $6 to $10. The city is extraordinarily walkable, green and calm. The historic center is car-free. Lake Bled, one of the most photographed places in Europe, a glacial lake with a small island church and a clifftop castle, is about 40 minutes by bus and costs around $3 in transport. Ljubljana typically runs $35 to $50 per day. The strategies that keep costs low across all of these cities are consistent. Always eat at least one meal per day at a market, milk bar, or local canteen rather than a sit-down restaurant. Book accommodation in neighborhoods 1 or 2 stops from the tourist center rather than inside it. Use city cards where they exist. Most of these cities sell multi-day passes that bundle public transport and museum entries at meaningful discounts. And move between cities by overnight train or bus where the routes allow, eliminating a night of accommodation cost. The verdict on $40 a day across Eastern Europe. Very comfortable in Warsaw, Bratislava, and Krakow. Tight but achievable in Budapest and Ljubljana. Prague requires discipline on location and eating choices but holds at $40 for careful travelers. As a circuit, Krakow to Warsaw to Prague to Bratislava to Budapest to Ljubljana, this is one of the great underrated travel routes in the world. Travel is best when it is both affordable and safe. Always research current conditions, trust instincts on the ground, and check the official government travel advisory from your home country, alongside any visa or entry requirements before booking. Both can change frequently.